Central and southern Nassau County is home to New York Rep. Anthony D'Esposito's district, which also borders U.S. House of Representatives from New York's 3rd District George Santos. Attempting to boot a member of their own party from Congress is a rare occurrence of lawmakers proposing an expulsion measure on the House floor on Thursday. Must watch. Happen Just Now. Enjoy hearing your thoughts. Please leave comments. Thanks.
Pursuant to Clause 2A1 of Rule 9, I rise to give notice of my intent to raise a question of the privileges of the House. The form of the resolution is as follows: House Resolution 773, providing for the expulsion of Representative George Santos from the House of Representatives. Whereas George Anthony Santos, known as George Santos, was elected to represent New York's 3rd Congressional District in the House of Representatives on November 8, 2022. Whereas after Election Day, it was revealed George Santos lied about a significant portion of his background, including his education and previous employment.
Is it on the campaign website that you graduated with a degree in economics and finance from Baruch College in 2000?
I'll save you the. I did not attain a college education. That regrettably so is one of my biggest regrets in life.
So that was a lie.
Absolutely.
Whereas George Santos has a long history of misrepresenting his and his family's connections to major events, including the Holocaust, September 11th terrorist attacks, and the Pulse nightclub shooting. Whereas on May 9th, 2023, George Santos was indicted on 13 counts of wire fraud, money laundering, stealing public funds, and lying on federal financial disclosure forms to the House of Representatives.
Straight ahead. About the bad check you wrote for the puppies in Lancaster.
Anything you want to say about that?
Go to the right of the stage. You haven't been charged with that.
People in your area.
What about the bad check in Lancaster, Pennsylvania?
Right there. The podium's right there.
All right.
All right, there's a podium right here. Look at all these mics.
This is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on. And I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted.
Whereas a federal grand jury indicted an aide to George Santos' campaign on charges of wire fraud and identity theft for defrauding potential donors by impersonating Speaker Kevin McCarthy's former chief of staff. Whereas on October 5th, 2023, George Santos' former campaign treasurer pled guilty to falsifying campaign finance records, including lying about a $500,000 loan that George Santos claimed to have donated to the campaign himself. Whereas on October 10th, 2023, George Santos was federally charged with an additional 10 criminal counts. Whereas the additional charges were serious in nature, including conspiracy to commit offenses against the United States of America, wire fraud, aggravated identity theft, access device fraud, false statements to the Federal Election Commission, and falsifying records to obstruct the commission.
We are following some breaking news right now. It has to do with politics back here, and there are new charges that have been filed tonight against Congressman George Santos from New York. Federal prosecutors filed the 23-count superseding indictment today, which includes charges that Santos stole the identities and the financial information of his contributors. Prosecutors say he used the information to repeatedly charge their credit cards without their permission and then transferred funds to his campaign. And they say he covered this up by lying about where those contributions came from. Santos is also facing charges including wire fraud, making false statements to the Federal Election Commission, and money laundering. His lawyer tonight is declining to comment.
Whereas the indictment outlined a vast amount of evidence against Santos, including conversations he held with his former campaign treasurer outlining plans to commit the fraud he is charged with. Whereas these charges indicate that George Santos engaged in a serious financial fraud throughout his 2022 campaign for the House of Representatives. Whereas George Santos stole over $44,000 from donors by charging their credit cards without authorization. Whereas George Santos directly profited from his fraudulent actions, including transferring money to his own bank account to buy luxury items and pay off debt. Whereas George Santos engaged in election fraud throughout his 2022 campaign by deceiving voters regarding his biography, defrauding donors, and engaging in other illegal campaign behavior. And whereas as a result of these actions, George Santos is not fit to serve his constituents as a United States representative. Now there be resolved that pursuant to Article 1, Section 5, Clause 2 of the Constitution of the United States of America, Representative George Santos be and hereby is expelled from the House of Representatives.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Happen Just Now for more content about accountability of all public officials and policies and procedures.